Any one of these can really obviously trip you up, and most guys here have multiple of these. And it's just the successful retirements that I see here are few and far between. Me and a couple of my friends here kind of refer to these casually as the seven deadlies. This isn't some official group or official list that we ratify at regular meetings or something. It's just sort of an expression, but generally when we think about it, I don't know if we come up with the same seven every time. Probably 5 or 6 of the seven are the same every time, but you get the idea. I actually wrote it down, and I took a photo of the list. I wrote it out neat. I'll put it up here so you can check it out. You know, retirement isn't easy. I mean, I am having a fantastic time, but it's been a lot of work. Kind of makes me think of one of my mentors. I call him the sales Godzilla. Guy was just I'll spare you any of the really awesome stories about him. His name was Bob, a former pro football player, a lineman. It's a gigantic, you don't realize how big those people are until you meet one in real life. They're much bigger than you think. If you've never met one, it's weird. And one time I was, unfortunately, between jobs. I had one of my companies. I had sort of sold it, but I sort of had to sell it and all that. You know, it's not always, hey, it's just, people chasing you with 7-figure checks all day long. It's hard. And I was at a challenging point in my life, and he says to me, he goes, Rob, getting a job is a job. And retiring well is a job. It's like finding a nice girlfriend or making good friends or achieving anything. It's like you got to there's a reason the guy that's a pro at something versus an amateur at something, there's generally a gigantic difference in what they can do because they work at it all day. And that's just the thing. So my job, to get to my point, the last 4 years has been to improve my life and make it something that fits me. I'm organically happy throughout the day. And that's happened. I've achieved that now. And it's been working. And that's great when that happens. Fun's beauty queen friend waving at me. Never hurts my feelings. So I just put these in, they're in some kind of order, which maybe I'll get to. It isn't that important. But the first one I put up is emotional neediness, overemphasis on female companionship. I was totally guilty of this one. This is, you can decide for yourself, but this is definitely one of the worst ones, one of the most common, really bad ones on this list. Most of us come here from a neglectful prior relationship, start thinking about female companionship, maybe a bit disenfranchised with some of the culture. I can just say for the Midwestern United States, growing up in my generation, I'm a child of the 70s and early 80s. Things were very different back then. The stuff we did in college, and we'd be doing, potentially could have been doing relatively serious jail time. You just can't do anything anymore. Everything is so sensitive, and women are very different. I'm a traditional gender role guy. That's just how I feel. A friend of mine says, back in the States, you look at a woman, you smile at a woman, you pass her. She might make a rude or a mean comment back like you're some kind of deviant or something. Here, I smile at a woman and she smiles back and she's like, hey, are you interested? And I have to watch that sometimes. You get over it, but it does take a while because it does feel kind of nice. Not that I'm flirting, you're just smiling at a pretty lady. I don't know what to tell you. My DNA says that's okay, but we come here neglectful. The world's changed on us. You come here and it's like 1956 again. It's fantastic. But if that itch hasn't been scratched, so to speak, and you come here in a really needy state, and you might, and that's fine. I get that. That you can't help. That's your condition. That's what's happened to you. But how you react to that when you get here, you definitely want the lady to be the frosting on the cupcake, not the whole cupcake. I would really take that to heart. I'd suggest that you think about that one, and maybe not date very much at all for a while. Enjoy going out a little here and there, but. And they date. I did a video on that. Some women will say, "Oh, we don't date. If we're out, we're on a relationship." That's total that's a total falsehood. They date exact same as we do in the West, and if you got your game on, they'll be happy to just date you. They'll be looking for more, hoping for more, but they'll be happy to just date you. And if you're not getting a good response from women, or you're only getting sex workers and things like that, and you should watch some of my videos, or you can buy my book. It covers this all pretty. The new version of the book is extremely information dense, and I, in 110 pages and in a couple of hour read or whatever, I don't think you can go anywhere and get anywhere near that level of information that's spot on to what we're talking about. But that's up to you, and that's fine. That money goes to my son. I don't make a penny on that. But when you come here, you definitely want to throttle it back. And if you're not getting a good response, you are just getting the sex workers and the pros and the gold diggers, which are the easy ones to get and the ones that 80-90% of us settle with, to be honest. And it isn't a good idea. I don't recommend that. I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. Then work on your appearance and work on your game, so to speak. And leave that to you. My average viewer is 55. I leave that to you to define what you think that means to you, but I would work on your appeal. Newsflash, shocking point number one, your general appeal in the dating marketplace is going to have a complete and total effect on what kind of women you engage with and how you engage with them and how genuine that might be. So I would definitely do that. So that's number one, over emotional neediness, over emotional dependence. And try and cover the other ones a little more quickly. Two, this is a real common one. I got a couple friends really hurting with this. It really breaks my heart. Insufficient retirement income. It's difficult to retire. It's difficult to stop working 100% and just have money magically show up, with an email notification every month saying, hey, your check is in on time, or some big account you can just magically draw from whenever you dang well feel like. That's very hard to set up, believe me. As a fellow guy here, and I was the primary income and the guy everyone looked to when there was money needed or something had to be paid for or whatever, I had to do that, same as you, and it's a tall order, and it's tough, and doing it without working is real tough. The one fix I can suggest is to consider coming here and doing some partial work. Working as an English teacher part-time is quite easy to do, depending on what your background. You need a 4-year degree in something, in anything, and then you can come here and teach and make a 1,000, maybe as much as 2,000 US a month, vary wildly depending on where you are. And maybe that could be just enough supplemental income to get you going, or come up with an entrepreneurial plan here. But it's hard. This is a slow economy. The economy has not been that great in the United States the last few years in particular, and it's definitely much slower here. But I see very few guys come here and enrich themselves. I know one. I have one friend who's actually made himself moderately wealthy here, but that's a whole other thing. I mentioned him in my examples of 6 guys doing well. I have a video on that from a couple months before this one. You can find it, I'm sure. But I would make sure your money's set. On one hand, don't wait too long trying to make yourself like Ferrari rich before you retire, and then you're just going to have a heart attack and die before you enjoy any of it. It's a tough balancing act, and there's no way to get it perfectly right every time. But I would really just make sure that you're comfortable with what you're going to need to live off of, and that you've got that set really nicely before you come here. Because once you've pulled the trigger and once you're here, the guys that are the most unhappy are the guys that have to leave and go back to working again. And I see that too. And those guys are really unhappy. Don't do that one. Lack of interest and goals. If you don't have anything occupying your time, it's interesting. I go to the Monkey Bar, for example, probably twice a month. It's one of my favorite regular go-tos because the food quality is just shockingly high. And I go early before there's any rowdiness. And usually there's a dispute over the pool table somewhere by later in the evening. And that kind of stuff just does not interest me. And so I go there early and it's nice and quiet. But I will see in my little, 1 or 2 times a month there, often I see the same guy. So they're probably going every day. And that's fine. I don't care what anybody else does, but I wouldn't recommend that as like a goal to go to a bar every single day. I wouldn't say that's my goal in retirement. I wouldn't recommend that. I would definitely get serious hobbies and interests that can engage you and feel fulfilling to you, so you're driving towards some kind of growth. There's an old saying, grow or die. I would look at some kind of growth, because if you're not growing, it just feels less positive and less forward momentum to me. Maybe that's just me, but I throw that out there. Physically unfit. Yeah, okay. Every regular viewer knows I'm really into fitness, and it's actually been working out pretty good for me. But I'm not saying you got to be extremely fit. What I wrote down was physically unfit. Like, just because you're not going to be super fit, that's fine. But going into a potentially more sedentary lifestyle and starting at the beginning of being extremely unfit is a terrible idea for your longevity. And it really hurts you with the dating. Now, fitness isn't a big thing here in Thailand, I'll tell you. If you're overweight, even if you're rather significantly overweight, 40, 50, 60 pounds, if you get your clothes fitted and wear nice clothes and cut your hair and clean yourself up and try and learn how to do a Y properly, which is much harder than you think, by the way, it will take you months to get it down. I still don't have mine right, okay? But you just do some basics here. Your dating pay grade goes way up. Because real quick aside, any woman that will be with you will be saving face with you somehow. That can be in a way that's to your benefit or in a way that's extremely hurtful to you. That will be up to you how they do it. But I guarantee you, to total and complete metaphysical certitude, every woman you date will be saving face while she's out in public with you. Just really think about that, please. Unwillingness to at least partially adapt to the culture. This is a really big one. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? And okay, fine. I like to speak the language. It's one of the hobbies I chose. And now I engage in them. I'm going to start another class with Usani here. I'll put that on the screen as I always do. But I was talking about it, and I don't really even need to go anymore. I don't have to. I'm functionally fluent to where I can go to the market and go to a store and go to the construction workers and get everything I need functionally done. Can I sit and chit-chat and be a best friend with everybody here? No, I cannot. And I'm not really interested in doing that. But it's a great hobby, and it gets me adapted to the culture a little bit. You don't want to do that, that's fine, but I would really encourage you to adapt to the cleanliness, grooming, and dress standards of wherever you're staying. And when I'm in the village, I walk around no shirt. Now, I don't do rumpled, dirty, baggy shorts with holes in them, which is what most foreigners wear here, even going to a nice restaurant, and I'm not kidding. I don't do that even in the village. They're clean, nice shorts, but no shirt on, because the other men, almost half of them, don't have a shirt on either, and I love the feeling of the wind and the cool air on my skin. I love that feeling. And my son says it's my ADD and stuff, and he's probably right. But I would do some kind of adaptation to the culture. At least show that you're wear one piece of Thai gold jewelry, one ring or something, and just to show some kind of acknowledgement that you're just not a total snubbing the whole thing, because that will be their assumption of you when they start. Their assumption of you is in the basement when they first meet you. It's up to you to dig it out of the basement or not, but I guarantee you when you first meet 99% of the Thais here, they're going to assume you're like the other foreigners here, and it's not a good assumption, because we've done that to ourselves. That's on us. Number 6. Really, really, really common one, unfortunately, alcohol and drug dependence. I want to do a video on this. I have this vision of like a title for a video, like, why are the Thais so friendly and the expats not? And the answer would be alcohol dependence, alcohol abuse. I don't know what the percentages are. I have no way to tell you, but it's got to be like 70 to 90% of the foreigners here, I think, have some kind of alcohol problem. That sounds crazy to say, but when I bump into a guy and get talking to him and get to know them a little bit, and I actually find out that their entire retirement does not revolve around alcohol consumption, it's like a surprise. It's hard to think that's true, but it is. After this, I've been here 3 years, and it's the rare guy that isn't drinking 4 or 5. And they sell bottles in these 632 milliliter bottles of beer. I don't know why they are so big. I can't tell how many guys I've sat down with, and in an hour and a half they drink 4 of those. I couldn't drink that in a week. I mean, I guess I'm a lightweight, but gee whiz. So I would really, I've gone through periods where I've been kind of a heavy drinker, or definitely a heavy drinker, and I was extremely unhappy. Obviously, that's self-medicating, just getting through a tough period, and that's fine. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live their life, but if you're in that state, and I've been there a couple times, I would work towards a positive plan and positive goals and start building positive habits and build yourself a more positive life, because this is the best you're going to have. You're not going to be younger, sharper, and have more energy and be looking better next year, more than likely not, right? We're fighting the decline at this point. So just saying, it's a real common problem, though. This is the seventh one, and this is kind of one of the worst ones. I saved it for last on purpose. This will probably surprise everybody. Not paying adequate attention to your surroundings. And by the way, I attempted to choose my words very carefully in all seven of these. Not paying adequate attention to your surroundings. So guys get hung up as they start to learn to speak a little bit or understand the sounds of the language or something a little bit. They start to try to pay attention and catch keywords people are saying around them. That's a total waste of your time. Total waste. There's so many nuances here to how things are said, and the word kong, which means thing, typically just means thing, but every once in a while it means something extremely vulgar, and you're never going to catch the difference. You're never going, and that's like one example of 1,000. So, but what you do want to pay attention to is body language, who's around you, and assess what is it about you that they're interested in, because again, well over 90%, and it doesn't matter to you whether it's 99 or 92%, but well over 90% of all Thais are totally uninterested in you and me. This is the same as I give this example all the time. When I'm back in Detroit, and I go back home to Detroit in a couple months, and I'm walking down the street, and there's some guy from France walking down the street over there, or some guy from China over there. I'm not worried, but gee, what are they thinking? What are they? I don't really care. I'm walking to the store to buy something for my son or something, or I'm going to a friend's house. I'm not worried about what some foreigners thinking they're doing, and it's the exact same thing here. Thais are kind of nationally focused in their thinking. They're thinking about Thais and Thailand and Thai food and Thai dancing and Thai music and Thai boxing. They're not thinking about what you're worried about, getting to eat a hamburger at a bar and go get drunk is what they probably think you're doing anyways. So, but they're not worried about it. And so when a local person here does take an interest in you, you really have to wonder and ask yourself, why are they interested in me? What is it about me that's drawn them out of their Thai-centric life, and now they're sitting chatting with me? Because they're potentially losing an awful lot of face hanging out with a foreigner, or certainly not at a foreign bar. That would be not generally something they would commonly do. You just want to be aware of your surroundings, because most guys that get scammed, if you think about it, why is this sexy, smoking hot woman who's ostensibly eligible to date an attractive and eligible Thai man, which is a rare and extremely desirable thing, why is she not pursuing that at the moment? And why is she pursuing an out-of-shape, unkempt, 65-year-old guy that doesn't speak a lick of the language and can't really save her any face in any kind of a positive way? Why is she doing that? Something like that. I don't mean to be too pointed or rude about how I say it, and I might be there now. If I did, I apologize a little bit, but you see what I'm trying to convey. You really want to know, what is their motivation? Like, I'll pick on myself a little bit. Fawn is slightly too young and slightly too pretty for me, in my opinion, okay? She's on that ragged edge a little bit. And that wasn't intentional or anything like that, just the way it shook out. I was dating another woman very seriously at the time, a really sweet lady that I still have some minor regrets over, and Fawn knows this. But just Fawn had she just had more going on. She just did. But Fawn has real, solid, actual reasons why she would want an older foreign guy. As a woman who's been divorced, as a woman near 40, which is the kiss of death for dating by itself, as a woman who's had 2 children, she's just completely ineligible to date anyone even remotely. She'd have to go like 7 levels down to the grubbiest guy you could imagine here in Thailand that's going to want a Thai man that will want to date her. She's got a good government job, and she's, by my standards, a relatively attractive young woman and all that. And she'd have to just drop her standards drastically to try and get a guy. And mostly all the men want a woman in her position for is just for a me and noi, and that's a topic for another day. But if you don't know what that is, and she's, for all the reasons that a good rational person wouldn't do that, she's not. So. I want to explain it, but it's just too complicated here. Anyway, so there's a fit. There's a natural fit where she has a natural need. I I check in with her all the time on this. I bring a value to her. I bring order and peace to her house. Yeah, there's money involved, but it isn't really a whole lot. She skipped last month's salary, and I hate the word salary, but nundun, it translates to salary. It really doesn't mean that. It means more like stipend or support or something. But I give her 10 grand a month in support, which is 300 US roughly. And last month she skipped it. She just took this. She asked for this month. She didn't ask for last month's. And we talked about it. And she's been, helping me a little bit because I've been spending so much on the house. And I just bought my new motorcycle. And now she's negotiating with the roof company to get our roof costs down. It was the quote came in at 6,000 US, and it was just more than we were told. It was double what we were told. So I reacted, oh my gosh, and I let the reaction stand, because if you go run around, the temptation is to be like a baller on some big hot night in Vegas, and and being in here, it's like having a 90% discount on everything half the time. But if I run around like that, then that can not be good long term for me. You can imagine how that doesn't work out. If I start acting like a big spendthrift, then I may end up broke at some point. That's pretty obvious, right? So I don't want to do that. So I'm letting it stand, and she's gone back and fixing it, and we're going to try and get that down to around 3 grand, 4 grand, And if it's 45, whatever, 4,500 or whatever, Alago die. Everything is okay, but I want to let the project feel the sting of this a little bit and get it worked through. And I don't want to throw my money around. I mean, an extra couple grand, that's maybe something on my motorcycle I'd really like, or a really nice trip with my son, or 5 really nice trips with Fawn here, so, you get the idea. Anyways, and that's the last one. It's the not paying attention to your surroundings is a biggie. These are 7 ones that me and one particular good friend of mine here, we put some time and thought into this. We've talked about this many times, and these are the 7 but the 7 deadly habits that we see real common here. And any one of these can really obviously trip you up, and most guys here have multiple of these. And it's just, the successful retirements that I see here are few and far between. In the States, it's certainly not everyone either. I think your odds definitely, I don't know, to me it feels like your odds go down here overseas. If you do make it happy, you end up like me, like really super happy. But again, I'm at the end of my 4th year, so starting my 5th, you could say, of really focusing and working hard on this. I've had, I think, 4 or 5 surgeries in that time, correcting things, and now I'm out of 24-hour pain, thank God, finally. That was fun. And I got the divorce all done, and even when you get your divorce, then it's a matter of months or years until you finally get your ex-spouse out of your life, and they stop haranguing you, and I'm still going to run around and badmouth. Might run around and badmouth you in infinity, and that's fine. Who cares about that stuff? You will end up with some peace, but it's work. It's like my mentor Bob said. It's a job, and you got to define the hours and your duties, and come up with what you're going to do for your job to build and create your retirement. And then even when I'm enjoying it, there's just challenges that come up. I had some challenges. It was only 5 or 6 days ago. I had some trouble with one of my pension accounts, and I couldn't move the money when I wanted. And one banking application was having a problem, and then the other one was new, and I hadn't tested it enough, so it had an extremely low dollar limit on it that I could move at a time. And I thought, well, if I try and move one with that, then maybe, I don't know how the banking systems work. Maybe one system can see the other one that I'm trying to move money, and sometimes they just freak out. Oh, you're a drug dealer. I'm retired, you morons. But banks will have any reason to just react negatively and just shut everything down. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to wait 2 or 3 days. I did. I had actually had some more money coming in that I'd forgotten about, which, praise God, and I got a text or got an email. I'm like, oh, well, hello there, Mr. $9,000. How are you today? And that solved all my problems. And that's great. But I had to kind of calm down and wait it out. And there's a couple other problems came up at the same time. And it was kind of frustrating. And it was the poster boy for sometimes you just got to stop, calm down, wait, realize you've got a good plan already, stay within the plan, and it will course correct. And I've been at that point even here in Thailand the last 3 years. I've had at least a half a dozen, if not a dozen and a half, of those points where I just had to calm down, sit back, reevaluate that my plan is correct, and just slowly wait for the plan to work out correctly. And it did, because it was a good plan. I suggest you do a good one yourself. Immeasurably helpful in retirement. I hope all you guys watching these videos can build a good retirement for you, whatever that is. You want to retire on the beach in the Treasure Coast of Florida, you want to come here, if you're able to save your first marriage, whatever it is, hope it works out for you. Thank you. See, this is how it should be. We're just going over some money between us. I won't say any figures or anything. That's not fair to Fawn, but she waited until she knew I was between major payments on the house construction and that I've already set aside the rest of the money to pick up my motorcycle. And then she went through just what she needs, showing me how we're just helping, working together. We're mixing hands, working together. And the guys that as you see, if you're a regular viewer, if you look at the comments on a lot of videos, it's very frequent. Guys will write in and talk about how they're getting bled dry by these ladies, and that's just not how it works. Good Thai people aren't like that. Unfortunately, that's made such a huge negative stereotype. But you've got very good, considerate people here. I don't get anybody pressuring me for anything, ever. I've got Thai friends that, I mean, always insisting to pay for lunch and stuff. Some people, I kind of got to fight with them a little bit. I mean, it's not fair that they pay. You get the idea. Anyways, right, Chai Mai? Uh-huh. Tamai yep.
Oh, I did try.
Yeah, she's shy a little bit because we're talking personal stuff. And I hate to kind of share this, but it's such a common problem, and it's become sort of a false wisdom that you just got to pay all this money all the time and put up with all this. I'll take her out of the camera, and it's just not true. It's just absolutely just not true. And I've got friends that are doing it right here as well, and they're not having any of these problems either. So. Always handy. I still shop like a 12-year-old, and I love it. I got my amped up on my caffeinated vitamin water. Why the hell not? And this Korean snack stuff in these little 100-calorie tiny bags of like nuts and crackers. It's a great little snack. Not going to screw up my diet. I'm never going to get fat eating one of these a day. And hey, fun. And there's fun. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. If you've watched this far, please consider hitting like and subscribe.